step. That's how you step into bravery. Step. Take the step. Step aggressively towards your fear. And that step towards your fear is the step into bravery. Because we're scared of what we don't know. And there is only one way to learn and to know, and that is to confront that fear. You have to step, you have to go. And this simple action, this simple attitude, it answers so many questions. So many questions. How do you get to the gym every day? You step. You go. How do you change your diet? You step. You go. How do you overcome fear of failure or fear of success or fear of fear itself? You step. And how do you face the fear of the unknown? You step. Don't wait anymore. Don't think anymore. Don't plan anymore. Don't contemplate anymore. Don't make any more excuses or justifications. Don't rationalize anything else. No, no, and no. Instead, be aggressive. Take action now. And what is the first action that you need to take? What's the first step you need to take? The first step you need to take is just that. Step. It is not easy to identify the enemy in combat, in war. So what you have to do is you have to control what you can control, right? You got to be prepared. You've got to train. You've got to study. You've got to rehearse. You've got to remain vigilant. You've got to maintain discipline in everything you do so that when the enemy does reveal itself, you have the ability to outthink it, to outmaneuver, to outfight the enemy. And it's actually the same thing in business, right? The enemy can be hard to identify. Your competitors aren't broadcasting their next move. You don't know what the market's going to do. You can't be certain about the next trend or the next downturn or the next bubble that's going to burst. You can't know those things. So you have to do the same thing. You have to control what you can control, which is you. You got to gather intelligence. You got to analyze the metrics that you can track. You got to train yourself and your team to be prepared for both the known and also be prepared for the unknown. Figure out what the likely contingencies are and have some plans to execute if those contingencies occur. Maintain discipline as an organization so that you have the flexibility and the responsiveness to maneuver effectively and efficiently when the unpredictable actually happens. So instead of suffering and falling apart in the chaos, you can take advantage of it and win. And that's business, and life is the same. The enemy is not always clear in life. It can be hard to tell who's going to try and bring you down, or what is going to bring you down. There's distractions. There are things out there that will do you harm that are so camouflaged you can't see them at all. There are deceitful people. There are accidents that can occur and diseases that take root, and there's bad luck, and there's Murphy's Law, and there's times when it seems that the whole world is against you. The whole world is the enemy. And the same rules apply. Control what you can't control. You train hard, learn, maintain the unmitigated daily discipline in all things.
Is it ever okay to violate core values to achieve a goal?
Okay, so first of all, really obvious, your values and your goals should be aligned. They should not be adversarial. They shouldn't be counter to each other. And if you think about what your goals are, your goals should be set up in a way that they support your values, and vice versa. That's just the way it is. So I'm not sure where this is going to be an issue. If you're setting up goals that are contrary to your values, you got some issues. Now, I guess if you had the goal of winning the blue belt jiu-jitsu championships, and in order to win, you cheated, like you claimed someone was reaping your leg and you said, you tap and you get the guy to qualified and you win, that could be an example, right?
Yeah.
Now, do I support that? No. That's wrong. You go in against the values of martial arts to do that. So you didn't win anything and you didn't achieve your goal because you weren't actually the best.
Right.
So I say no on that one. Another one, let's say you wanted to make a certain level of profit at your company. So you cheated a little bit on the quality of the manufacturing and you sold items that weren't quite reliable. Do I support that? No, right? And why? Let me tell you why. Because your goal is not even aligned with your goal itself. Because when you start making substandard manufactured items, what's going to happen in the long run? People are going to say, hey, we don't like these.
Yeah.
We're not going to buy them anymore. So you didn't win. You might have won in the short term, but you didn't win. And again, you're going against your value. You should have values that you don't want to take profit over making good product. And again, in the long run, that value is going to cost you, right? People aren't going to want to buy your product anymore. I need a mission. We all need a mission. That's what life should be, is a mission. That's what gives your life purpose and focus and drive and ultimately satisfaction. Now, that mission can be the job you work at. It can be providing for your family, or it can be getting better at jiu-jitsu, or stronger at Olympic lifting, or starting a business that you want to grow and build and take over the world. And sometimes people ask me what to do if they don't know what their mission is or what their mission should be. And I tell them, if they're in that situation, to go help someone. Go help someone else. Make that your mission. Because that will make you better. And it'll make the world better. And eventually from that, you'll see what your mission is.
How do self-awareness, self-assessment, and self-improvement begin? And how do they continue over time?
Try to imagine the way other people see you and what other people are thinking of you. And one place where this happens, and it definitely happened to me, is when I started getting put in charge of things. I started thinking about other people's perspectives. What are they seeing? If you're in charge, then what do your subordinates see you do? What do your subordinates hear you say? What kind of representation are they receiving? And if you work for someone else, it's the same questions. What does the boss see me do? What does the boss hear me say? What kind of representation am I making of myself to my boss? And then you start thinking about, what do your friends and family think? What do they see? What do they hear? And so the question becomes, how well do you represent yourself? What shortfalls do you have? Now, when you first start looking, it's like you're looking at an overgrown lawn. There are some big, obvious problems, so you do a broad, just kind of general cut of the grass. You fix some of the big, easy problems that are obvious. And once you've done that, once you've gotten rid of some of those big, obvious problems, you notice some more detailed problems. So then you handle them, and once you've got those handled, you see even smaller and more detailed issues, so you start trying to fix them. And that's what you do with yourself. You continually detach, and then you look, and then you refine, and then you detach, and then you look, and then you refine, and then you detach, and then you look, and then you refine. That's what you do. That's how you get better. And that process doesn't stop. It can't stop, because if you stop refining, then the weeds grow back, and the next thing you know, you can't see yourself anymore. And when you can't see yourself anymore, when you stop looking at yourself, then you accept anything. And that's wrong. Don't accept the faults. Don't give yourself the benefit of the doubt. You've got to be your own harshest critic and hold the line. I say this to people all the time. Most important here is, it isn't me. It's you. And sure, you may have grabbed some little foothold from the podcast or from one of the books, but it isn't me that changes you. It's you. You set the small goals, you achieve those goals, then set some more and achieve those, and set some more goals, maybe a little bit bigger, but not that much bigger. Just start. Start small. Start with changing tomorrow morning, just tomorrow morning. Get that squared away. And then move on to the next day and the next, and move your life to a better place. One little step. One little victory at a time. Hard lines in the sand. And eventually you realize that they're either unrealistic or people can't maintain them. You've set yourself up for failure.
What is that exactly like, drawing lines?
So it's like, no matter what, we will not.
Gotcha.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, there's the line.
No matter what,
Got it.
we will win every single road march that we do as a fire team in this while we're here on this training thing. Okay. Well, guess what? That's a that's hard.
Yep.
There's some other fire teams that are also want to win. And so you've drawn a hard line to sand. That's not really a good example. A good example is like, no matter what, we're going to muster every morning at 4:30 in the morning. No matter what. And, then the guys are out on patrol until 2:38 in the morning. And now the next morning, you're good no matter what. I said, no matter what. Well, it's not good for them. It's unrealistic. So you drew a hard line in the sand, and now you got to back it down. So, and all you have to do is soften the statement a little bit. Hey guys, to the best of our ability, if we can, we're going to get here every morning at 4:30 for muster. There's a little room to play there, right? And that's fine. So again, there's not a question here, but one of the reasons I think that I wanted to talk about it was because I think people look at me and even hear me on a peripheral level, and they think, oh, I bet Jocko just laid down the hard lines.
Sure.
And it's my way or the highway, right?
Yeah.
And the opposite is actually true. And the reason that I came to that conclusion was because I worked for leaders like that, and I hated working for leaders like that. So I tried to never be a leader like that. This is an expression that is vilified in our minds beginning at a young age. Every time a young child announces this decision, they are corrected. The first adult that hears it asks them whether or not they have even tried. Generally, this confrontation will result in the child giving their task another attempt until their attention span moves on to something else. The adult will see this and chuckle to themselves with knowledge that this is just a child who has yet to learn the art and virtue of perseverance. By the time this child comes of age, however, they will have been told by adults more times than they could count that there is no such thing as can't. It is interesting then to think about how many adults seem to proclaim this expression in their lives. Is it because, like many things that adults tell children, they are simply telling the child a general rule that the child must follow, but can be broken once one is grown? Or is it because these adults are simply repeating what they were told as children without thoroughly examining what the phrase "I can't" truly suggests? If you confronted an adult that claims they can't do something with the same question about whether or not they have tried, the answer will almost always be yes. Adults have learned enough to know that it is unreasonable to say they can't until they have at least tried once. Therefore, the real question that we should be asking in response is, have you tried everything? Have you exhausted every possible option, scenario, combination, tool, and approach? I do not simply refer to the ones that you knew of at the time you decided to undertake your task. I mean, have you also researched possibilities that you hadn't known about? Have you determined whether or not there is another person out there that has performed the exact same task you are attempting, or at least something similar? Have you exhausted this research? Have you read every book, blog, journal, magazine, bathroom stall, and website? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then go back and try again, because you don't truly know if you can do something until you've tried absolutely everything. The fact of the matter is that rarely, if ever, is the answer to all these questions yes. Therefore, what is it that people actually mean when they say "I can't"? A more accurate but more verbose way of saying it would be, I don't care about or want enough this task or the resultant benefits of it in order to do all that is necessary to achieve it. I was told countless numbers of times by people during my month of marathons that they couldn't run one marathon, let alone 31 straight. Every now and then, when I had time, I would discuss what they'd said. we would jointly conclude that if something they cared about and depended on them doing so, it would be possible. The most common example I used was, if someone had a gun to your child's head, do you think you could do it then? Therefore, the phrase, "I can't," denotes a lack of investment as opposed to a lack of potential or ability. I do not mean to say that every person I had this conversation with should have had the motivation to run marathons. It was something that I had decided to do, not them. I merely wanted to express to them what I am expressing here. Given the right purpose and enough time, you can. Everyone that's out there grinding, working, driving trucks, pouring concrete, hammering on a project, building bridges or building software, sewing some garments or sowing a field, farmers, factory workers, engineers, electricians, plumbers, and pilots, and ground crew, and cooks, and waitresses, to everyone out there working hard and listening to this and just trying to get yourself a little bit better today than you were yesterday. Thanks for listening. And as you meet struggles, and as you struggle to stay on the path, first of all, remember, you don't have to fight alone. Reach out to your comrades in arms. Call for fire support when you need it. We win wars because we stick together, and when we stick together, we can overcome any enemy. And the struggles that you face, when they do try to flank you, do what Jody did. Do what a soldier does. Turn into the ambush. Turn toward the enemy fire.